Hello, welcome back. One question that I've been asked is about my design process. What did I do when I sit down to write a game or design a scenario or what have you? And it's an interesting question, and there's plenty that I don't want to say because I don't want to give away my personal secrets. But there are some general things that I try to do when I'm sitting down to write a game. When I first started designing games, it was all about how the system fitted the settings. So I would design mechanics specifically for that setting, and then I realised I didn't actually enjoy doing that. I prefer something a bit more generic, or something that could be sort of modified to gaming group specifications, what their preference would be. If I designed something which was very, very specific and in a very specific way, I think that takes away a little bit of the fun for the gaming groups, because everybody likes to house rule, and the more difficult you make it for somebody to house rule, the less sort of approachable or fun the game is, in my experience anyway. So when I design a gaming system, I try to make it as open and as adaptable as possible. When I designed those Dark Places, which I've got here, in my original book from Osprey Games, when I designed those Dark Places, when I first designed it, the gaming system used, I think it was like a 2d6 or a d12, and it was very, very specific, and very specific rules that you're making to recreate the horror of the genre that I was trying to emulate. And I just didn't like it. One, the system was a little bit too complicated, and two, it just seems a little bit flat. You know what I mean? Like, there wasn't much you could do with the game except get a little bit scared and then die mad. So no, I wasn't on board with that. And then over the years, the game sort of evolved, and the rule system then reduced down to something very, very simple. It had the pressure rules in there. If you read those Dark Places, it had the pressure rules in there, and that was what helped with that game. But what I also wanted to do was make the game accessible and adaptable, so you were more focused on the scares and the horror and whatever than you were on the mechanics of what made the horror work. I didn't want mechanics to make the horror work, and the best way for me to do that was to make the rules really, really light. So in those Dark Places, you are literally rolling a d6, and you're adding your crew position and your attribute to it to beat a target number, and that's it. So you make your roll, and if it's got 3 levels of success, so failure, success, and then yes, but, like, you have succeeded, but there is a bit of a catch. And then you had the pressure rules, and that was it. And it was really, really simple, because then games masters and gaming groups can then focus on the action and on the story, rather than focus on the mechanics and how the mechanics make the game work. And that's my preferred approach. That's what I enjoy doing. Also, as well, with those Dark Places, those rule systems, making that rule system that simple, it also meant that people could adapt the game to however they wanted to do it. So I've seen those Dark Places used for a 19th century setting. I've seen it used for a 1920s investigation setting, and I wrote the sequel, Pressure, right here, which is using the same sort of rule mechanics. Looking at the screen to make sure you can all see it. Which uses the same rule mechanics, except there's now more of a skill system, and that skill system then means you can create very unique characters. You're not limited to crew positions on the ship. Whereas those Dark Places was focused on a theme and an atmosphere and a kind of game, this Pressure is more focused on the overall setting. So you get the entire setting, you even get rules for starships. So it's using the same rule system. It's a little bit more approachable, so you can do more with your character and play them in more sort of as campaign characters, so they can grow over time, and you've got an entire setting to go with it as well. So Pressure, yeah, same system but bigger game, so to speak. But with Pressure, I've already seen it used as in a Wild West setting, because the rules are easily adaptable. You can easily adapt them to how you want, and the easier you make the rules to adapt to how you want to play it, I think the more accessible the game is. Yes, it's lovely that they're playing in my setting, or it's lovely that they're using those rules to play in the campaign world that I've created, but if they can use it for themselves in any way that they wish, then that's great. For example, the reason why I do it that way, for example, is the original, which I've got down here. Where are you? Here we go. It's the original Star Wars the role-playing game. That's better. No light glare now. Star Wars the role-playing game. One of my favourite rule books ever written. Greg Costigan did an amazing job. And the reason why I like this game so much is, one, it's fast and it's quick and it's intuitive, which is perfect for a Star Wars game because it's a fast action game. So it suits that genre straight away, and you can do all sorts of hijinks, and it's very cinematic. And two, the actual rule system itself is so adaptable, you can use it for anything. And in fact, I use that rule book, that as like a core rule book for a fantasy setting. I've used it for an Aliens type game back when Leading Edge Games had released the Aliens Adventure game. But I was already running Aliens type games using the D6 system, and it was just fantastic. You could use that rule system just with a little bit of tweaking. That rule system could cover pretty much any genre. Absolutely fantastic. Why it wasn't used as a core rule book for Indiana Jones off the bat, I have no idea. That would have been perfect for that kind of pulp setting. So that's where I got my cue from, and I also like that kind of casual chatting way that he wrote the rules as well. That's something I also tried to capture in some of my rules. But yeah, so when I design a game system, I try to look at it as if to say, okay, then yes, I'm designing a game system that I want, but the people that are playing it are you guys, you're the ones that are playing it as the gaming group. So what can you do with it? Yes, it's great. You can use it to game in the world that I've created, the setting that I've created. But what can you do with it beyond that? And if you can do stuff with it beyond that, even better. You're getting the bang for your buck, then, aren't you? You'll be able to use that game system for pretty much anything you want to play. It's like, well, we know the odds. Those Dark Places system are called the odds system. It stands for one die determines success. So you can say, yeah, we know the odds system, but that's for those Dark Places. But yeah, but I want to do a Western. That's fine. We'll just change a couple of stats and off you go. You're fine. No, when I'm designing rules, I'm basically designing a game that can be used for pretty much anything. Now, I designed another game called Deep Space. Unfortunately, it's only available on PDF. There isn't a print version of it yet. I am working on it, and it's turned out to be actually quite popular. And this is literally just 4 pages of rules. That's it, 4 pages, and it covers everything. You've got character creation, you've got combat, creatures, vehicles, starships. You've got a starship system generator, how planetary resources, you've got adventures and ideas, and they've got optional rules for aliens and equipment and all sorts of stuff. And I've done about 22 other like 2-page books which cover all kinds of things: adventures, source books for settings, equipment, starships. Sorry, ran out of breath then. Starships and everything. So, and the reason why I designed that the way that I did was, one, I was trying to prove to myself that I could actually write a gaming system in 4 pages and have it as pretty much a complete core rulebook that you could use for anything. And I like to think I succeeded. And not only that, you can use it for different things. So I've used that same game system now for like a Cthulhu investigation system. There's a submarine game which is out as well. I'm working on another one called Cyberwave about 1980s cyberpunk synth bands. You know what I mean? So this game system can be used for all kinds of things. All you need to do is just change a few stats and what have you. And that's what I like designing about games. I like to design my games to be accessible. I like to design my games so that they're not restricted just to one use. You can use them for different things. Of course, like when I wrote those Dark Places, I am focused on that one thing. I am focused on that science fiction setting, and my massive love for Alien, I wear it on my sleeve. And films like that, like Outlander and what have you, and games like Dead Space and Alien Isolation. And it's the same with Pressure as well, the sequel Pressure. So it's obvious why I wrote the game, but there's absolutely nothing stopping you from using that game for other things. So yeah, so that's how I approach games design. I try to make it as open and as accessible as possible, and I just want people to have fun. That's when I'm designing my own stuff. When I'm writing for other people, then I try to stick but it's easier for me to write scenarios and adventures for other game systems for other publishers because the game's already designed, so all I'm doing is adding to it. So when I wrote, where is it now? There's a fantastic game out called Warlock from Fire Ruby Design, which is brilliant. And I wrote a little book called Bridgetown, which is available. Again, I keep looking at the screen to make sure that everybody can see it. Can you see it? Called Bridgetown. And the reason why I wrote that is because I like Warlock quite a lot, and I thought this would be a little bit of fun. So I like to write a setting and an adventure to go with it as well, because Warlock is very much up my alley because it's got this 1980s dark British humour to it, like old Warhammer and what have you. So that's why I wrote for that, because that's kind of my era and my humour. It's such a great game as well. I'll put that back in a minute. So yeah, I had great fun writing that. So when I approached designing that, I just wanted to design a setting and a little bit of an adventure. Stats are already sorted out for me. All I had to focus on is what was happening. And it's the same with versus Darkmaster. I wrote a game called Legacy of Blood, an adventure called Legacy of Blood, which I was really happy with. And I tried a different tack with that. I was trying to tell a bit of a story and try to build up a setting. So the game has a story to tell, but of course, you as players, you can adapt that story however you please. All it's doing is just sort of giving you the beats, and then it's up to you as the GM and as the players to have fun with it. So when I approached that, I was looking at it from more of a story point of view, trying to avoid the railroad, but at the same time, sort of just giving a bit of a path for them to go down, so they have the adventure. So it depends on what I'm writing. I suppose will colour the way that I approach the project. But when I'm writing for myself, when I'm writing just rules, my design process is basically how much use can a gaming group get out of this? Can they use those rules beyond what I originally designed them for? And that's basically it. So it's not really a crash course in game design, is it? It's just like an opinion. The fact is, another thing as well, which I think is quite important, feedback. Listen to feedback, even if it's negative. Don't listen to the people who are cool with their feedback. You don't want honest opinions. Can I be brutally honest? No. Can you just be honest? You know what I mean? But listen to feedback. One of the things when I wrote Deep Space, when I originally wrote the system, I wanted it to be roll low under your stats for normal skill use, and then for opposed rolls, roll high. So there was a definitive difference between the two. And then the more I played it, and the more other people played it, the more I realised, just keep everything roll high. So I changed the basic skill roll to roll high. Basically, you roll your D12, add your attributes and what have you, skills, and the target number's 13. And it works so much better because now everything's roll high. So there's like a unified dice mechanic. So yeah, and that's because of feedback. That's because of people talking to me. And the great thing about it just being on PDF is that I could change that and then just send out. If you've already bought it, it doesn't matter. Here's your new PDF, and it made no difference to all the supplements because basically the chance range was pretty much the same. So yeah, always listen to feedback. Send it out to people that you trust that's going to give you honest feedback. You don't want people coming back to you going, "Oh, that's nice, dear." You really want people to say, "Actually, yeah, this is good, but," or just coming back and saying, "Okay, then this is what I think about your game." But another thing as well, which I can't stress enough, you don't have to take on board everything that other people say. A lot of the time, it is personal preference. They may be giving you feedback based on their personal wants and needs. Doesn't necessarily translate into what you want for your game. So don't worry about it. You don't have to take everything on board. If there's glaring, obvious problems, then God, yeah, change it. But a lot of the time, a lot of it is just personal opinion, and that's what you need to sort of separate from major problems with the system. And also, as well, as far as design process is concerned, always write for yourself. Don't think about the audience that you're writing for. I mean, I can only go by personal experience, and maybe some people do, and they're good for it. But always write for yourself, and always write for the. Don't write for an audience. Don't write for a specific audience, or don't write in a certain way because you think it's going to draw people in. Because the moment you start writing for other people, then the magic sort of disappears. I feel that anyway. Yeah, I kind of lose focus on what makes the adventure or the game special. And so I try to focus on what I want from a game, what I enjoy, and then if other people come along for the ride, that's fantastic. I mean, it's the old adage, it's all about the creative process, and if anybody likes it, it's a bonus. That's kind of true in a lot of respects. Create what you enjoy doing, because if your passion and what you enjoy about the game, about what you're creating, goes through onto those pages, and you make it clear on those pages how passionate, then people reading it are going to feel that passion. They're going to come along for the ride. They're going to enjoy it as well. You don't want walls of text basically just explaining how your game works. Well done. Here we go. Thanks. Bye. That'd be $5, please. So yeah, the more into the game you are, the more that will come across on what you create, and that can really get people excited. So yeah, that's my creative process. I love what I write, and I write what I love. Oh, I should have just said that at the beginning, just saved you 15 minutes. How about that? Brilliant. Okay, well, that's that then. So let me find the off button. So that's that then. So thank you very much. Like, subscribe, or whatever. You can do whatever you please. I'm not here all week. And thanks for listening. Bye. Do you know what? I should be ending each of my videos with like a little catchphrase, like, "Hope you always roll a 20," or "Hey, hope every roll's a critical." But I don't know. I'll just say "Ta-ra." How about that? That is my end of video quote. Okay, thanks for listening. Ta-ra.